Thanks for joining me. Before we dig into SoFi's latest earnings, please take a minute and click subscribe to my channel to keep up with all of my latest content. We're still just getting started in earnings season, and I have about 50 more companies I want to cover. So please keep up with all of my latest content. And please check out the link you see on your screen right now for a message from our sponsor, The Motley Fool, where you can get the top 10 stocks to buy right now. So, first things first, let's take a look at how SoFi did this quarter. On the headlines, it beat expectations on both the top and bottom lines pretty handily. Its earnings were better than expected, or its loss was better than expected, and its top line revenue was significantly higher than analysts thought. It grew its revenue 60% year over year for the full year. Its adjusted margin was up from 3% to 9% in 2022. So it's becoming more profitable. It continues to grow, and the numbers just look fantastic. You can see here how many new members SoFi added. SoFi added 480,000 new members in the fourth quarter alone. Remember, each new member is someone who has at least one product to form a relationship with SoFi. That can be a checking account, that could be an investment account, that could be a loan, it could be a credit card. So now it has 5.2 million members altogether. That's over 50% more than it had a year ago. And you could see that is roughly 5 times the amount of members it had to start 2020. So it's been growing very, very fast. You see that growth rate slowed down a little bit, but 51% year over year growth is still pretty impressive. 480,000 new members is the second most SoFi's ever added in a quarter. So I'm very happy to see that number. If you look at their lending and financial service products, the lending products are up 24% year over year. That's the same as the growth rate in the last quarter. That part of the business is growing well. It's not going to knock your socks off, but especially when you consider that student loans are a very, very big part of SoFi's business, and that industry is almost non-existent right now because the student loan pause keeps getting pushed back. That's still pretty impressive growth. The chart on the right is by far the more important of the two. SoFi's financial services products, which includes bank accounts, that includes investment accounts, and that includes credit cards, is up 60% year over year. The average SoFi user has about 1.2 different financial services products if you divide the 6.6 million by the total membership base. So they're expanding relationships. They want to keep expanding and cross selling and things like that. But a 60% year over year growth rate is pretty nice there. And that's really significant because the more people who have financial services products with SoFi, for one thing, the more of a natural marketing funnel it has for the lending side of the business. If there are, 5 million people who have banking relationships with SoFi, they don't need to market their loans as aggressively as they used to. So that's definitely good to see. You can see here, I already mentioned the revenue growth and profitability growth. You can see on the left, their revenue just kind of really going almost parabolic over time. And you can see on the right, that's still on an adjusted basis. On a GAAP basis, they are not profitable. It's very important to point out. They think they will be by the fourth quarter of this year. So profitability is definitely trending in the right direction. Here's what they just kind of a quick view of what they think they're going to do this year. They're expecting revenue to grow at between 25 and 30% per year, which not the 60% growth rate or 53% on an adjusted basis that we saw this past year, but that's still about a $500 million more than they produced in 2022, which given a kind of challenging financial climate would be very impressive. And their profitability they're expecting it to almost double on an adjusted basis for this year. And like I said, they hope to achieve GAAP profitability, meaning actual bottom line profits by the end of 2023. But here's where I think is the most important number. Remember that SoFi just became a bank at the beginning of 2022, meaning at the start of 2022, it didn't have any deposits. SoFi has done a fantastic job of building up its deposit base in 2022, essentially starting from zero at the end of 2021. You can see that SoFi has grown its deposit base very, very rapidly, adding over 2 billion in deposits in the fourth quarter alone. This is significant because deposits give banks a very low cost source of funding for their loans. You can kind of think of it this way. Right now, I'm a SoFi customer. My SoFi savings account pays 3.75% interest to me. If their average loan is in the 8 to 9% ballpark, you can see how that could be a very nice profit margin for SoFi. On the other hand, if they have to go to the private capital market and borrow money at 6 or 7%, which is kind of what you would do if you don't have deposits, the profit margins are much smaller. That's just kind of those aren't actual numbers. That's just kind of the idea that deposits are a much lower lower cost source of funding. And you can see they've built it up from zero to where their deposit base is 53% of their loan portfolio. Not quite where they want to be. They want to get that to 100 or preferably a little bit more, but they are rapidly trending in the right direction. And that's where SoFi becomes a real legitimate investable bank stock for Main Street investors. It's when their deposit base grows to the point where it's more than covering its loan portfolio. So I'm very thrilled with SoFi's quarter. I think the deposit growth is definitely a number to watch going forward. And not only does that deposit base grow, but like I said before, the more banking customers it gets, the better of a marketing funnel it has, and the more efficient its business will grow. So thanks for watching, and I'd love to know what you think in the comments.
Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to click subscribe if you don't subscribe to my channel already. And as always, this video is sponsored by The Motley Fool. Be sure to visit www.fool.com/Frankel to receive the top 10 best stocks to buy now.